For the ease of doing this video, we've already pre-cut the hoses to the appropriate length. So let's begin with the alkaline water outlet hose, the thicker of the two white hoses. This will go into the alkaline water outlet port, which is a quick release fitting. You'll want to brace the fitting with your free hand and simply push the hose into the fitting firmly until you feel it click or snap into place. And you can test the installation by giving it a tug. If it's properly seated, you won't be able to pull it out. If you ever need to release the hose, you simply depress the outer ring, at the same time pull the hose. It's very simple. So let's install that again and move on to the acidic water outlet. The next hose we'll connect is one of the thinner white hoses, and this will go into the acidic water outlet port on the lower right back of the machine. And it's a quick connect fitting just like the alkaline water fitting was. So we'll insert that, give it a little tug to test that it's inserted properly, and that's very easy. The last hose we'll connect, also with a thinner white hose, is the tap water inlet port on the bottom of the machine. Again, bracing the port with your free hand, we'll insert the hose, give it a tug to make sure that it's firmly seated, and it's that simple. The last thing we'll connect on your ionizing unit is the connector wire, which connects from the ionizing unit to the Delphi faucet and relays all the controls from the faucet to the unit. This is a quick connection, a pinned connector, as you can see here, and it connects into the port in the upper right of the unit on the back. You simply line the pins up, push it in, and you're done. Now we're ready to connect the ionizing unit to the Delphi faucet. Now we're at the sink where we're going to perform the Delphi faucet installation, but before we begin that, I'd like to make a couple of key points. IonWays recommends professional installation. It's important to know that improper installation will void your valuable warranty. Now, turning to the sink, we've already connected the various hoses to the ionizing unit, and you can see that we've pulled them up through our pre-drilled hole. Most sinks will come with a pre-drilled hole already for sprayer attachments, dishwashers, soap dispensers, things like that. If you don't have a hole, make sure your professional has the proper tools to do that. So we've got the thicker of the two white hoses, the alkaline water hose, the thinner of the two white hoses, which is the acidic water hose, and then the connector wire. This is what will create the connection between your ionizing unit and your remote controlled faucet. These are how the two units talk to each other and how you can control the function of your unit from the faucet. So before we perform the installation, let's take a quick tour of the pieces that you'll need to complete this. First and most importantly is the Delphi faucet itself. Let's take a quick look at the different features. This is the alkaline water drinking spout and the acidic water spout. On front you have an LCD control panel which when the unit is operating will be lit up and telling you exactly what function you're performing and at what level. And then on the top we've got our touch control pad, and this is how you'll control the function of the unit. On the bottom of the unit we've got the flexible white acidic water hose and the threaded brass alkaline water tube, and of course the other end of the connector wire. The other parts you'll need will be the circle plate, the nut which secures the circle plate to the alkaline drinking tube, and then you've got two quick connect fittings, a larger one which will go to the alkaline water tube and a smaller one which will go to the white flexible acidic water hose. And lastly, you've got an O-ring gasket. Let's take a minute quickly and put that on to the bottom of the faucet. This would be the first step you'll perform. The next part of the video would ordinarily be done underneath the sink, but for sake of clarity we're going to show you the connections above the sink so you get a really clear idea of how the connections take place and in what sequence. So first, we'll look at the circle plate. You'll notice it has a pre-drilled hole, and this is where the flexible white acidic hose will go, and then it's got a slot. This is where the connector wire will sit. So let's install the circle plate. You simply thread the acidic hose through the pre-drilled hole and then the circle plate onto the alkaline tube. The connector wire just lays loosely in that slotted fitting. Next, we'll use the brass nut on the end of the alkaline tube and we'll thread that on. This will secure the circle plate against the bottom of the sink and actually hold your Delphi faucet in place. So this is how it would look. The sink would actually be in between the circle plate and the Delphi faucet, and the bolt will tighten those all together and hold your Delphi faucet firmly in place. Next, we'll use the quick connect fittings to connect the hoses to the Delphi faucet. First, we'll use the smaller of the two quick connect fittings to the white acidic hose, and we'll simply just push and then give it a tug to make sure that it's properly seated. And then the larger of the two onto the alkaline tube, again making sure it's properly seated. Next, we'll connect the tubes to the quick connect. First, we'll do the smaller of the two, the acidic water hose, to the smaller of the quick connect fittings. Again, always checking to make sure you've got a nice, tight, secure connection. And then the larger of the two hoses to the alkaline water tube and the larger quick connect fitting. Checking to make sure. And lastly, we'll connect up the power connector cord. And that's got a little snap on it to make sure that it stays connected. If you have a faulty connection here, your Delphi faucet won't operate. This is what a completed Delphi installation would look like in a cross-section of your sink. At the sink, you've got the Delphi faucet anchored to the sink top. Underneath, you'd have the circle plate with the acidic hose running through the pre-drilled hole and the nut holding the circle plate firmly up against the bottom of the sink. And then, of course, you've got your wire connector, the alkaline tube with the larger quick connector and the alkaline hose, the larger of the two white hoses, and the acidic hose, the smaller of the two white hoses, with the smaller connector and the smaller acidic hose running down to the ionizing unit.